We are back at it again, ladies and gentlemen, with another Browns game recap. Today it's preseason week 2. Well, technically it's week 3, but this is our second preseason game of the year. And boy, oh boy, do we have a fine tale to tell today against those dreaded birds. That's right, the Eagles. Super Bowl champions. That's right. Didn't look too Super Bowl champion to me this time around. But, once again, it is just a preseason game. But I was expecting to be kind of sad this week. I'm not going to lie. Shadur Sanders suffered an oblique injury. Kenny Pickett still out with a hamstring. Gabriel Davis was supposed to be out with the hamstring injury as well, but he was in, which was the best thing that we could see today. And honestly, he was the best QB today. So let's dive right in to this Browns game. Let's go. The Browns took the field once again, this time in Philadelphia, born and raised. On the playground is where I spent most of my days. And they had a nice home crowd there. Can't deny that. Just for some basic overview of the game. It was actually a pretty competitive game. Pretty much all the way through. The first half was much more exciting than the second half, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Dylan Gabriel in his first drive looked pretty good. Threw some good balls, had some good spirals out there. The running game was also very good. We had Imani Marshall in there for the majority of at least the first half or so, and he looked pretty good running the ball. He had a pretty nice rushing touchdown to cap off this drive. Browns touchdown. But something went fucky-wucky with the extra point attempt. Don't know if it was the long snapper or the holder. To me, it just kind of looked like a goofy goober play, Someone fucked up and made everyone look stupid. On the next drive, the Eagles come out with their new quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And when they originally said that on the broadcast, I went, huh? The scripts write themselves. I mean, this is the quarterback who we picked up during the Watson era, and he balled out on the Hall of Fame game, and I just don't think he was ready for the NFL, and it kind of showed with his several starts that he had for our team. But now he's on the Eagles, DTR in at QB, and it went about as well as you'd expect. Now, preseason is usually when a mediocre quarterback can ball out a little bit, maybe get themselves a contract. For DTR, it seems like he will be hitting the streets probably after this weekend. Our defense looked pretty good once again, and we were able to bat a pass, and it flew up into the air. We almost intercepted it. It was pretty close. We almost intercepted it. But that was the end of that drive. Then on our next drive, Gabriel is still in. He has a nice tight pass on 2nd and long. That gets us a first down. He's got another nice pass after that. He connects with Tillman, which looked pretty good. And that was the end of the first quarter. That's right. Just us with a touchdown, 6 points. But that wouldn't last too long, because on the first play of the second half, Gabriel throws a poor decision pass into between two receivers, but into the arms of an Eagle safety who takes it for a pick six. Yeah, it was a pick six. His first pick six ever thrown in the NFL. Woo! Let's go. Now, I don't feel... I mean, obviously it's not a good thing to throw a pick six as, your first touchdown, quote-unquote. But it's, he's a rookie, much like Shador was a rookie last week. Like, Shador didn't look perfect last week, and obviously I think that some of those passes could have been interception, maybe even pick six, but the cards didn't fall that way this week. Dylan Gabriel throws just a weird pass, and some of his decisions were also very poor in this game. That's just rookie type thing, right? But this one was pretty detrimental. Goes right to the waiting Eagles defender, and he just takes it home for the pick six. And that is what actually puts the Eagles up by 1 point because they hit their extra point. I will also say that the number one pick from the draft last year also threw a pick six last week. So the silver lining is that at least our quarterback wasn't the first overall. He was, the third round pick, right? Now, we were lucky to be playing the Eagles, who were starting DTR, because they didn't have such a great drive the next time around. But we got back onto the field, and Gabriel brushes himself off and leads us for a nice drive down the field. He had a very big play to a guy named Thrash, and I love that name. And we got a field goal on that after a sack. So the field goal was good. Should I do the thing for like a field goal? Browns field goal. Our defense kept swallowing up the Eagles. There really wasn't anything that DTR could do, and we were able to get the ball back pretty quickly. But we fumbled. Yes, I know it's a rare occurrence that the Browns fumble the ball, but yes, we fumbled the ball and gave it right back to the Eagles. It really felt like the Eagles were getting drive after drive after drive, and we weren't really doing anything. Even though we had those big plays, it felt like the Eagles had the ball more than we had the ball, simply because they kept getting the ball back. But the Eagles did something different this time around. So they got that fumble, and they put McCord in. And right away, the vibe changed. And they drove down the field, and they got a touchdown. Oof. We had a roughing the passer flag on the play as well, so they opted to do the 2-point conversion. But we stuffed them in the backfield. So now the score is looking a bit lopsided. I mean, not lopsided, but, the Eagles are in the lead, and we got to play some catch-up here. Dylan Gabriel throws a beauty to Davis, and then we get a field goal to end the half. It was a 49-yarder by Smith, our new kicker. Well, I don't know. We'll see if he sticks around. So now the score is 12-13, and we're looking okay. And the second half is coming around. As I said, not much really happened in the second half. It was a lot of defensive plays after defensive plays. They also were switching in and out of you playing DTR on the Eagles with McCord. So they were switching them out every so often. DTR would do something stupid. They would put McCord in. Then DTR would be back in a few, maybe a drive or so later. I think the last straw was in the third quarter. He throws a pick six. So we take it to the house. And this time we get the extra point. Browns touchdown. So now we got a nice lead, and the Eagles just really can't get anything going. Fourth quarter comes around. It just kind of turns into a preseason game, essentially. Goes from being kind of exciting. These guys are playing for their jobs, and they're doing the best they can. And then they rotate out the guys who are more likely to get the job for the guys who maybe aren't going to get the job. I was surprised because they put Tyler Huntley in. They put Snoop in. And it was kind of like a moribund offense. We really didn't get much going there. We did get down the field enough to get another field goal, which did put us 2 scores up over the Eagles. So in the end, the Eagles really couldn't get anything going. They were trying their best on fourth down and stuff like that, and our defense was looking pretty strong. But at the same time, their defense was also playing really well too. So the second half was kind of a snooze fest, but it was a good defensive bout. But at the end of the day, the Browns won. It was an interesting game, to say the least. I have high hopes for Gillen Gabriel. What did I just say? I have high hopes for Dylan Gabriel, but I don't know if he's better than Shador. I mean, Shador definitely showed more in his preseason debut than Gabriel did. I mean, keep them both on the team. I think they're both rising talent that could be harnessed. As a Browns fan, we'll have to suffer through a couple weeks of either Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett or both, depending on how well they play. And eventually down the road, they'll probably start Gabriel over Shador, which is gonna be a bit controversial. We'll see what happens. There is optimism flowing through my veins right now. And it will be interesting to see how next week goes. But we'll also see if they decide to start to like the first team. Like if they put Joe Flacco out there with Jerry Jeudy, get him a few reps out there, maybe a drive, that'll really show us what our offense can do. And then maybe they'll also start some defensive players like Garrett will go in for maybe a drive. Who knows? It's the preseason. You don't want to get your players hurt. I understand that. But also, as a fan, you kind of want to see what we're working with this year. And with the preseason going so well so far, I mean, our offseason hasn't been the most perfect thing. But at least these preseason games have been fun. They've been fun to watch. There's also a defensive player named Nathaniel Watson, who also was shown to be pretty good, getting some tackles out there, making some good plays. So there's a lot of good to be had here, and I will report to you next week when the final preseason game is played, and I'll be there. I'll be there. All right. Anyway, go Browns. I will see you next week. One step closer to the season. Let's freaking go.